Ever imagine yourself defusing a tense standoff? Not with force, but with a smile.
Mm.
That's the power of social intelligence, and today we're going to dive deep into the brain and where that comes from.
Yeah.
We have some excerpts from Daniel Goleman's book, Social Intelligence, you've provided.
Yes.
So let's unpack, like, what makes us wired to connect and how that actually plays out in everyday life.
It's fascinating how Goleman takes this idea beyond just like being nice, you know?
Right.
He dives into the neuroscience and shows how our brains are literally built for social interaction with like these intricate connections firing up every time we engage with someone.
So it's not just a feel-good concept, it's like biology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think of Lieutenant Cole Hughes in Iraq facing a hostile crowd ready to erupt. Instead of escalating, he has his soldiers kneel and smile. Kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But it completely shifted the mood, proving how powerful those social cues are. That's wild. It's like our brains are picking up on signals we don't even realize, and it's like constantly affecting us. Goleman calls this the emotional economy, right? Like a constant exchange happening.
Yes. And this economy impacts us way more often than we realize.
Right.
Think about it. Someone's bad mood can totally, like, tank your energy, or a friendly voice on the phone, lifts your spirits.
Yeah.
We're swimming in this sea of emotions all the time.
So how much control do we actually have over that? Are we just reacting all the time?
That's where things get really interesting. Golan talks about the low road and high road in our brains.
Yeah.
The low road is all about instant reactions driven by the amygdala, which is, always scanning for threats.
Right.
It's why you might jump at a loud noise before you even process what it is.
Oh, okay. So that's the gut feeling, instinctual stuff. What about the high road?
That's where your prefrontal cortex steps in. That part of the brain responsible for, like, thinking things through.
Right. It's slower, but lets you analyze, regulate your emotions, and make a conscious choice instead of just reacting.
So it's like having a little angel and devil on your shoulders, but you get to decide who to listen to.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Goleman illustrates this beautifully with the case of patient X.
Okay.
He was blind, but could still feel emotions on people's faces. Turns out the part of his brain processing site was damaged, but the amygdala, which handles those emotional cues, was intact.
Hold on, blind but still reacting to emotions. How is that even possible?
It shows how deep this wiring goes.
Wow.
Even without seeing a face, his brain was still registering happiness, anger, all of it. That low road was still functioning, even when his sight wasn't.
That's mind-blowing. So even if we're not consciously aware of it, our brains are picking up on all these emotional signals. Does that mean we're basically puppets to our feelings?
Not necessarily. Remember, we have that high road too.
Yeah.
We can train ourselves to be more aware of those automatic responses and choose a different course of action.
So if someone's being negative, I don't have to get sucked into that vortex.
Exactly. Goleman gives this great example of a woman dealing with her sister.
Okay.
Who had a mental disorder and often lashed out. It was, hurting their bond.
Yeah.
But instead of just reacting, the woman learned to manage her own emotions, responding in a way that actually protected their connection.
So instead of letting that low road reaction take over, she used her high road to basically build a shield against negativity.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that's a skill anyone can learn.
Yeah.
The more aware you are of those patterns, both in yourself and others, the better you navigate those tricky social situations.
Okay, that's actually really encouraging. So it's not just about being naturally good at socializing. There are things you can do to improve.
Absolutely. And this is where Goleman's recipe for rapport comes in.
Okay.
He breaks down the ingredients that create those strong connections we all crave.
All right, lay it on me. What's the secret sauce?
The first ingredient is mutual attention.
Yeah.
It's more than just, politely listening. It's being truly present with someone, creating that shared focus.
Right.
Goleman talks about this incredibly likable professor who left everyone feeling understood and uplifted.
Yeah.
It was because he was a master of this kind of attention.
So it's like you're tuning into their frequency, not just waiting for your turn to speak.
Exactly. And that makes all the difference in whether someone feels seen and heard, which is crucial for building that rapport.
Okay, mutual attention, got it.
Yeah.
What's next on the recipe list?
Shared positive feeling. It's about, warmth, liking, conveyed through your tone, expressions, your whole demeanor.
Right.
Think about how much a genuine smile or a friendly voice impacts you. It's powerful stuff.
It's true. You can tell when someone's just putting on a a fake happy face
Mhm.
versus actually radiating, like, good vibes.
Right, it has to be genuine. And it's amazing how quickly it can create closeness, even between strangers.
Hmm.
Goleman talks about the power of playful interaction. Like you
Okay.
see with babies and parents mirroring each other,
Yeah.
instant connection.
Oh, those videos are adorable. But there's actually a lot going on there, isn't there? Like babies are learning how to connect before they can even talk.
Exactly. Goleman calls them proto-conversations, and they're laying the groundwork for all those complex relationships we form later in life.
So we're basically practicing social skills from day one. What's the final ingredient in this recipe for connection?
Coordination or synchrony.
Okay.
It's about those subtle nonverbal cues that create a sense of, flow.
Right.
Think about walking in step with someone, mirroring their body language, even matching the pace of conversation.
It's like you're dancing together, even if there's no music playing.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the more in sync you are, the stronger the connection feels. Even something as simple as matching someone's breathing can create a sense of closeness.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. It's like there's this whole other language we're speaking without even realizing it.
Exactly. And the more we understand that language, the better we can communicate and truly connect with each other.
Yeah.
But there's another key element to this whole social intelligence thing, and that's empathy.
Okay.
Goleman talks about 3 types.
Okay, let's hear it. What are the different ways we empathize?
The first type is simply knowing another person's feelings. That seems basic, but it's, more than just acknowledging someone's happy or sad. It's
Yeah.
about grasping those subtle layers beneath the surface.
So it's like reading between the lines of their emotions, not just seeing the words, but getting the subtext.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're tuning into those cues that reveal the full story of what they're feeling.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the next level of empathy?
Feeling what that person feels.
Hmm.
This is where mirror neurons come in. These amazing cells let us simulate another person's experience in our own brains.
Whoa, hold on. So it's like my brain is actually trying to feel what you're feeling right now?
In a way, yes.
Wow.
It creates this shared understanding on a deeper level.
Right.
It's, the foundation of compassion.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. And the third type?
Responding compassionately to another's distress.
Okay.
This is where empathy moves us to action.
Hmm.
You don't just, feel their pain. You're driven to do something about it.
So empathy isn't just passive. It can actually motivate us to make a difference.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And here's where that low road, high road thing comes in again.
Right.
The low road might give you that instant pang of empathy when you see someone suffering,
Yeah.
but the high road lets you choose how to act on it.
So you might feel that initial urge to help, but you can use your higher thinking to decide the best course of action.
Exactly.
That's
Maybe it's, offering a listening ear, lending a hand, or even just sending good vibes their way.
That's the real power of empathy.
Yeah.
It can fuel positive change.
This is making me see empathy in a whole new light. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. The wired to connect idea, those brain pathways, rapport, and now empathy. Before we go further, let's zoom in on the actual parts of the brain doing all the social work. What's going on in there?
Well, the orbital frontal cortex, or OFC, is like the social control center.
Okay.
It's constantly evaluating our social world, helping us figure out who we like, who we trust, and how to behave.
So it's like our brain social secretary, scheduling our interactions, making sure we don't commit any faux pas.
You could say that.
Yeah.
And it plays a big role in regulating our impulses, so we don't always act on every feeling that pops up.
Okay, that makes sense. What other brain regions are involved in this social intelligence thing?
The anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC,
Okay.
is another key player.
Hmm.
It helps direct our attention,
Right.
coordinate our emotions, and basically tells our bodies how to respond to all those feelings.
So the OFC decides how we feel about someone, and the ACC helps us manage those feelings and act accordingly, like a tag team.
Exactly.
Okay.
And these 2 regions are linked by these super fast neurons called spindle cells.
Okay.
They allow for lightning fast communication between the OFC and ACC.
Oh, super fast brain highways. So are those what give us those gut feelings about people?
They seem to play a role in those snap judgments for sure.
Okay, that's fascinating. So we
Yeah.
have the OFC, the ACC, and these speed demon neurons all working together.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think about all this happening under the hood without us even realizing it.
It is,
Yeah.
and we're only, beginning to scratch the surface of how complex the social brain really is.
Okay.
But like we talked about earlier, sometimes those social bonds get broken.
Okay.
That's where things can go off the rails a bit.
Ooh, okay, let's talk about that. Broken bonds sounds a little ominous.
Yeah.
What happens when social intelligence goes wrong?
Goleman explores this through what he calls the dark triad of personality traits.
Okay.
Narcissism,
Right.
Machiavellianism,
Okay.
and psychopathy.
Those are some intense terms. What exactly are we talking about here?
Well, narcissism in a clinical sense goes beyond just being self-centered. It's a deep-seated need for admiration,
Right.
a lack of empathy, and a sense of grandiosity.
So they're so focused on themselves that they don't really connect with others on a genuine level.
That's a key part of it.
Yeah.
And because empathy is all about understanding others' feelings, narcissists really struggle with that.
Right.
It, creates a disconnect in their relationships.
Okay, that makes sense. What about Machiavellianism? That sounds straight out of a history book.
It is.
Yeah.
It's based on the ideas of Niccolo Machiavelli, who wrote about power and manipulation.
Okay.
People high in this trait are strategic, cunning,
Yeah.
and willing to exploit others to get what they want.
So they're basically playing a game with everyone around them.
They see relationships as a means to an end, not a source of genuine connection.
Right.
And they can be incredibly charming on the surface, which makes their manipulations even more effective.
That's pretty scary to think someone could be so calculated in their interactions.
It can be.
Yeah.
And then there's psychopathy,
What?
which takes this lack of empathy to an extreme.
Mm.
Psychopaths have little to no remorse or guilt,
Wow.
and often engage in antisocial behavior.
So they're basically the villains in a movie.
Not always.
Right.
But they can be dangerous because that lack of empathy makes it easier for them to harm others without feeling the usual consequences.
This is all pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that social intelligence isn't just about being a social butterfly. It has a darker side, too.
Absolutely. And Goleman emphasizes the importance of recognizing these darker traits, both in ourselves and in others, so we can navigate our social world with more awareness.
Okay, that's a good reminder to stay sharp.
Hmm.
But let's shift back to the brighter side of things.
Yeah.
Goleman talks about the importance of nurturing nature, the idea that our social brains are shaped by our experiences, especially in early childhood.
This is where things get hopeful.
Okay.
Our brains are, incredibly adaptable, especially in those early years.
Right.
The experiences we have,
Yeah.
particularly with our caregivers,
Right.
lay the foundation for how we connect with others throughout life.
So we're not just stuck with whatever social skills we're born with. We can actually change and grow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Goleman points to tons of research showing how early childhood experiences can literally shape our brains, impacting our ability to form relationships, regulate our emotions, and handle social situations. He talks about the importance of a secure base,
Okay.
that feeling of safety and support that lets kids, explore the world with confidence.
That makes me think about how important it is for parents to create that loving, nurturing environment.
Yeah.
It's not just about keeping a child fed and clothed. It's about fostering those social and emotional skills.
Exactly. And Goleman talks about emotional attunement,
Okay.
where a parent is sensitive and responsive to their child's emotions.
Right.
This teaches kids to understand and manage their own feelings, which is crucial for building healthy relationships later on.
So those early interactions are like building blocks for a child's social development.
You could say that.
Okay.
And Goleman dives into the fascinating world of genetics, too.
Yeah.
Says, we might inherit certain tendencies,
Right.
but our experiences can actually influence how those genes are expressed. It's like we have the power to rewrite our social code.
Wow, that's a powerful thought. So even if someone had a rough start in life, it doesn't mean they're doomed to struggle with relationships forever.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's never too late to learn, grow, and strengthen those social muscles.
That's really encouraging. This whole idea of social intelligence is getting me thinking about happiness.
Yeah.
Is there a connection there?
Definitely. Goleman talks about this concept of a set point for happiness.
Right.
It's influenced by our genes and early experiences, but it's not fixed.
So you're saying we're not just stuck at a certain level of happiness. We can actually change our set point.
Yes. And guess what plays a big role in that?
Social intelligence.
Bingo.
Right.
Our relationships, our sense of belonging, our connection to others. These are crucial ingredients for cultivating lasting happiness.
That's so interesting. Our culture puts so much emphasis on like individual achievement and material success.
Right.
But Goleman's saying that true fulfillment comes from connection.
Exactly. It's not that those things aren't important,
Right.
but they're not the end-all be-all.
Yeah.
We're social creatures at our core, and our happiness is tied to the quality of our, connections.
It's a really refreshing perspective. So if we want to boost our happiness levels, we need to focus on like building those meaningful relationships.
That's a great takeaway.
Okay.
And speaking of relationships, Goleman also dives into the complexities of love, romantic love,
Okay.
the power of attachment, and the beauty of compassion.
Can love them. Now we're talking. This is a topic I could explore for days.
Mm-hmm.
What does Goleman have to say about how love impacts our social brains?
Well, he starts by looking at the neuroscience behind romantic love, that intense passion and longing.
Right.
He talks about how certain brain regions light up when we're in love, releasing a flood of those feel-good chemicals.
So love is literally a drug.
In a sense, yes.
Yeah.
Dopamine, oxytocin, they create that rush of excitement and make us want to be close to our, beloved.
Right.
But it's not just about fleeting passion.
Oh.
Goleman talks about how those feelings can mature into a deeper, more enduring love.
So it's not all about butterflies and fireworks.
Those are fun, but they don't last forever.
Right.
Goleman says a truly fulfilling love is built on trust, intimacy,
Right.
and shared values.
It's about that deep connection that grows over time through shared experiences and a commitment to like growing together.
Exactly. And he says this kind of love isn't just for romantic relationships. Think about the bond you have with your family, your closest friends. It's all part of that, web of connection.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Mm-hmm.
The brain science, the emotions, the relationships, it's all interconnected.
It is.
Yeah.
And Goleman goes even further, exploring compassion as a profound form of love that extends beyond our personal circles.
So it's about recognizing our shared humanity and feeling empathy for all beings, not just the ones we're close to.
Exactly.
Okay.
He argues that compassion is a key part of social intelligence because it allows us to connect on a deeper level,
Right.
build bridges of understanding, and ultimately create a more humane world.
Okay, I'm really feeling the power of this concept now. It's like social intelligence isn't just about being a social butterfly. It's about tapping into our deeper humanity and using that to make a positive impact.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And this leads us to another important piece of the puzzle,
Okay.
stress.
Okay, stress. We all know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
What's Goleman's take on how it relates to social intelligence?
He says stress is inherently social. It's not just about those, external pressures,
Right.
but how we interact with and react to the people around us.
So like if I'm already stressed from work, I'm more likely to like snap at my partner or get frustrated in traffic.
Exactly. Our social world can either amplify or buffer that stress. A supportive conversation with a friend can actually help counteract the negative effects.
Right.
While a conflict with a coworker can send your stress levels skyrocketing.
It's like our stress levels are constantly fluctuating based on our interactions with others.
It's like we're all walking around with these invisible stress thermometers constantly influencing each other.
Yeah.
And Goleman gets into some pretty heavy research showing how chronic stress can just wreak havoc on your body. Weakened immune system, higher risk of heart problems, even changes to your genes.
Wait, stress can mess with our genes? That's intense. So are we just doomed to be like stress balls?
Not at all.
Okay.
Goleman offers some, great strategies for managing stress, like social support, mindfulness, and guess what? Caution.
So basically, like good relationships and being kind to yourself can help offset the bad stuff.
Right.
Sign me up.
And this is where social intelligence really shines.
Okay.
When you're more in tune with your own emotions and those around you, you're better equipped to handle stress.
Right.
Build those supportive bonds and just create a more positive environment overall.
This reminds me of how we were talking about like emotions being contagious.
Yeah.
If stress can spread like a virus, couldn't resilience and positivity be contagious too?
Absolutely. Goleman talks about people who can shift the emotional atmosphere of a whole group. Remember Lieutenant Cool Hughes calming that crowd in Iraq?
Oh, yeah.
It's like they have this ripple effect spreading calm and connection wherever they go.
It's like they're emotional superheroes.
Yeah,
And maybe we can all learn to be a little more like that in our own lives.
exactly. We all have the potential to be that positive force. But
Yeah.
but let's shift gears a bit and talk about something Goleman calls biological allies.
Okay, biological allies. That sounds intriguing. What's that all about?
It's about the fascinating connection between our social interactions and our biology, how our relationships can literally impact our physical health down to our cells.
So it's not just about feeling good emotionally, it's about actual, like, physical benefits.
Precisely.
Sure.
Goleman even talks about a social brain.
Okay.
This idea that our brains are wired for connection, that social interaction is as crucial to our well-being as, as food and water.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. It makes you realize how much we underestimate the power of connection.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it changes the way we think about self-care, too.
Right.
It's not just about bubble baths and meditation.
Yeah.
It's about nurturing those relationships
Right.
and creating a social environment that supports our health.
So true. It's like a people prescription.
Yeah.
Sometimes a good conversation is better than any medicine.
Exactly. And this brings us to how social intelligence is a superpower, not just for, your personal life, but for your career
Right.
and even society as a whole.
Okay, let's talk about that. I feel like this is especially relevant in, like, today's world.
Definitely, as technology advances and the world becomes more, interconnected,
Right.
the ability to collaborate, communicate effectively, and build strong relationships is more crucial than ever.
Right.
It's not enough to just be smart in the traditional sense. You need that social and emotional intelligence to thrive.
So IQ is important, but EQ, emotional intelligence, and SQ, social intelligence, are just as, like, vital in this day and age.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
Goleman argues that these skills are essential for building a better future, not just for, individuals, but for society as a whole.
It's about creating a world that's more, like, collaborative, compassionate, and sustainable.
Yes. Social intelligence is the key to unlocking our collective potential. It's about valuing differences,
Right.
working together,
Uh-huh.
and tackling those complex challenges we face as a global community.
Wow, this has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of social intelligence,
Yeah.
its impact on our lives, and the power we have to shape our own destinies and the world around us.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise.
Remember, social intelligence isn't some, magical talent you're born with.
Right.
It's a set of skills you can cultivate and strengthen throughout your life.
So it's not about being the most extroverted person in the room. It's about building those connections, being present with others, and using our understanding of the social brain to create positive change.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And with that, we've reached the end of our journey into the world of social intelligence. I encourage you to continue exploring these ideas, reflect on your own experiences, and embrace the power you have to create a more connected and compassionate world.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.